Welcome, Shai.
Thank you. Exactly. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. That's my talk. Thanks. Just so you know, I completely redid all of this talk yesterday night until now. Why? Because yesterday I was talking with a friend. I did this talk already in Israel, and I told him that I'm going to do it tomorrow, and he told me, oh, that talk. And I said, why? What's wrong with that talk? Oh, yeah, okay. And I said, what? Because I did it like last month. He said, yeah, I heard not so good things about this talk. I said, really? Yeah, it was too advanced and stuff like that. So I completely redid everything. And just to set the expectation, this is going to be an intro to ngModules and not like the advanced, super complicated stuff. Who's seen my talks before? Okay, great. Nobody knows me here. Great, awesome. So we're going to have some fun waking you all up, okay? So let's start by 1, 2, 3. You will do it? Yeah. Let's begin. I washed my hair. I hope I won't get electrocuted with the thing. Okay. So who am I? I'm Shai Reznik. I'm the official banana in the box. For those of you who know Angular 2 with the banana in the box stuff. This is my Twitter handle, and I'm a small-time contributor to Angular. I'm also a GDE, a Google Developer Expert, and I'm the founder of HiRes.io, which I will tell you about soon. If you want to know more about me, these are 2 talks I did at ngConf. One is ngWhat from 2015, and the other is ngShow, where I shot a t-shirt to the audience. Okay, so I usually do like these crazy talks, and these are not technical, just for laughs. So if you want to check them out afterwards in YouTube, okay? So check them out. I'm really proud of them. And this is HiRes.io. I launched in the beginning of the year this website. I teach web development and mostly Angular, and I do it in a very crazy way. I'm the Chief Crazy Officer, as you just heard, CCO. It's a new title. Okay, so you're welcome to join. Like this month, it's going to be a new free course about TDD, the most boring subject ever, which I somehow managed to make it more entertaining. Great. Now, let's start the talk. So we're going to talk about what are ngModules, and why do we need them, and how to write them. Pretty simple, okay? Like I said, it's for beginners.
But aren't modules and Angular one thing?
Oh, sorry. This is my co-founder, Bonnie.
Hi.
Yeah. So yeah, Bonnie, it's an Angular one thing modules, but guess what? We have them also in Angular 2. Okay, and yeah, they did a comeback. And let's go over deep down. I know it's like 4:30. You're all tired. Let's deep dive into the code. So first we have the compiler, which you can see. It's all the things here in this circle, okay? And it's really like the template are talking with the directive and the method and the component, and then we have the injector, which is here, and they talk with each other, and
Wait, Shai, I don't understand anything. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's... You know what, Bonnie? You know what? Let me try to explain it in a different way, just for you, okay? Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about the legend of ngModules. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom. We'll call it Kingdom A. And in this kingdom, there was a cute fellow walking around, and which wanted to build an app. So he walked around, and went to see the king of the kingdom, Mr. Brad Green, the Angular manager, His Grace Brett, the builder of House Green, first of his name, King of the first dollar scopes, Lord of the 7 filters, and provider of the realm. So he went to see Brett, and he told him, I want to build an app. And Brett told him, you need a model. And Bonnie told him, an ES6 model? And Brett told him, no, Angular model. Well, what's the difference? Well, you know, in Angular we have several types, like roughly 4 things we need to remember. We have the components, directives, in Angular 2, right? And pipes, which used to be filters, and services. These are the 4 things we need to keep in mind, and that's it. Just forget everything else you know. And all of these are what we call ES6 modules, okay? These are the actual files. They are scoped by the file. And Angular modules are grouping those files together into one ng module. And those are ngModules. So Bonnie asked, why do I need to group them? And Brett started this long explanation about ngModules. It's first and foremost, you need to group those files because they are the entry point to your application. Every Angular 2 application needs an ng module to start with. Okay, so the bootstrap process goes like this. We have the main file, which needs to load the app module. This is our first module, which is the root module. Okay, and this is the bootstrap process. So we need one. For starters, we need to know about them because we can't really create an app without them. So Bonnie asked, how do I create one? So Brett opened up his laptop and started coding and show him that you just create a file and see, I'm doing it with my mind. Just create a file and import an annotation. For those of you who are not familiar with the syntax, with this TypeScript ES6 syntax, that's okay. You will see it's not that scary. Now, okay, these are the only lines you need in order to start creating this class. Okay, we import an ng model and we annotate our app model with this ng model, and that's it. What is this ng model scary thing? Is only metadata. Okay, it's just like an object. We only give it metadata, no logic, and that's it. In order to connect our 4 types, which are services, components, directives, and pipes into the module, we need to somehow attach them to it. Okay, so how do we do it? First of all, we need to know one thing, that not all of them are equal. We have 2 groups inside of these 4 like friends. We have the component, directive, and pipes in one group, and we have the service or services in the other group. Okay, so this group, the first group, is called declarations. And the other group, if we add other services here, is called providers. It comes from service providers, okay? You need to remember it when you develop Angular 2 applications, when you configure your modules. So declarations and providers. Then Bonnie asked, why do we need these 2 separate things? So Brett started answering with, okay, because one group belongs to the compiler and the other one belongs to what? It was in Polish? Yell again, yell again. The provider? Yes, it's pretty close. It's the injector. We'll talk about it in a bit. So these are the 2 groups. And compilers are best friends with the templates. They look at the template and they search for their 3 friends, which are directives, components, and pipes. Okay? They are working with the templates. And that's why this group belongs to the compiler. This is what the compiler sees. And on the other hand, providers, don't be worried about this slide, just pay attention to this line. This is what the injector see, the services, okay, or the services providers. So that's why the services are on the other group, okay? And that's on a high level, the explanation of why there are two separate groups. Okay, so when we declare our module, okay, we write these two things we need to remember when we import stuff. We want to attach it to our module so we could use it. We need to remember what goes where. Okay, so for this, I just added a component as an example. I could edit like add here more components or pipes or declarations. And for the providers, I just added, okay, the service. And that's it. Okay, declarations, providers, and by the way, you get the sticker. Whoever had the courage to shout before, okay? I'll give you the cool dino sticker for the offline. So if you want to shout more, you are welcome. Okay, so, okay, you get the sticker, Everyone who shouts, okay, interrupt. Okay, so that's the way we are attaching our services and declarations to the module. That's it. And the second thing explicitly for the app module is the bootstrap. We need to somehow let the application know who is the first component, who is the root component, okay? For the full version, there are other properties here and stuff like that, but you can just check out this project, Angular CLI. You probably heard about it in Tracy's talk. And you just can generate, and you will see more properties that we'll talk about it in a bit. So it won't work like this, okay? That's why I added this line. So just generate one, and you will see other properties that we'll talk about them. But again, like I said, this is the root component. This is the first component. We need to tell the compiler because it doesn't know about it. So Bonnie said, thanks for the explanation. And Brett says, wait, remember that I told you that I redid all my slides? So the other presentation was a bit crazier than this one. This is cute, but the other one was crazier. And I got leftovers from it, and I wanted to reuse them. So Brett in this story will reuse those slides. Yeah, like this one. This is, yeah. Okay, so yeah, Bonnie said thanks, I guess, and went to his way. And time went by, and he built his small Angular app. And he came back and said, help! And Brett said, what is it? And Bonnie said, my app module is too big. I wrote so many components and so many things, and yeah, I feel sorry for her. I wrote all these components, and what the fudge? Can I say here? Okay, what the fudge? All of these components. Like these are the declarations. Well, how can I manage this mess, right? And if you look closely, it's just copy-paste. Okay, so how do I manage all this mess? So then Brett said, well, you need feature modules. What are feature modules? So we have our app, right? And our app, when it gets too big, like the declaration file and all the app module, we really want to separate it into sub-modules. So we have module 1, apparently. It's on purpose. Like I told you, I just finished the slides. So we have module 1, and imagine that is module 2. And we split them by functionality. What do I mean? Brent asked Bonnie, what kind of application are you writing? And Bonnie said, well, I'm writing a llama dating website, okay? It's a website for llama to llama, the funny llamas love since 2016, okay? So I'm writing this dating website, and then he said, okay, so first of all, if you look at your page, you can see that you can probably start to see some features here, okay? And the first basic level of what a feature is first and foremost the page itself, okay? The front page. So all of the pages, the top level pages of our applications or the top states are features. So this will be a feature called front page. And if you look above it, you see the login page or the login button, which leads us to the login page. And this is also a feature. Okay, this is the login page feature. This is how you start separating into features by functionality. So then Bonnie asked Brad, how do I know when to split them? So like, I have this page and it too has like lots of components and services and stuff like that. So Brad answered clean code. Who read clean code, the book here? Okay, nice. Okay, like 15%. So it's not enough, okay? I really recommend this book. It's all the code examples are in Java, okay? But don't mind them. Just read the theory, okay? It's a really great book. And clean code basically says that when we have like lots of stuff inside of one function, we need to divide it into sub-functions because that's too long, and we just need to extract it, okay? Who does it in his or her code, okay? Okay, more people than read the book, okay, great. So we just need to divide it and extract it, and this is short and cleaner, okay? So another developer will read our code, and they could see like what's going on. So the same thing, we can apply, the same logic we can apply to our app module, or our modules in general. So when it gets too big, and each company, each developer in his own company needs to decide whether it's, what is too big. It could be 5 components, 10 components, how many lines of code, it's individual. But usually over 10, okay, this could be enough. Okay, so then we could subdivide it into the front module and the login module, okay? We just extract all of the components that belongs to each other, to each of these modules, and we just separate it, again, by functionality. So when they are getting bigger, we can apply the same logic, right? Right? You want to do the wave again? Right? Okay, you're scared from the wave. Okay, great, it worked. So we could subdivide them, okay? If we have a widget and a list, you get the idea, okay? We could subdivide them. So then Brad told Bonnie that if he wanted to subdivide them, he needed to import the new modules. And Bonnie asked him, how do I do that? And Brad said, well, go see the old guy in the forest. He's in charge of that. So Bonnie said, oh, thanks, great, thanks. And Brad said, wait. I don't know. Okay, so Bonnie said, yeah, okay. Bye. So we just left to see the old guy in the forest, okay? And then he arrived to the old guy who apparently is in charge of the imports in Angular 2. I don't know why, okay? So then he said to him, I want to import sub-modules. And the old guy said, oh, I see. So you need to use the imports property. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And he explaining how does it work. So when you have the app module and you want to import the login module, okay, you just use the imports and just put the class there, okay? So let's take a look in the app module. So we have the imports, and you see here we imported the login module, and we add it into the imports array. That's it. Now we just imported a module, and that's it. So now we could use the login page, right? We can just use the component from that module, right? Wrong. Okay. It won't be rendered. Okay? And let's see why. So when we try to load it, we'll see a blank page. So Bonnie, like all of us, said, why? And the old guy started explaining how things work in Angular 2 behind the scenes. So imagine this. You have the login module, which has components which are marked in C and services which are marked in S. Okay? So you have components and services, and what happens is that when you want to import a module into another module, you need to explicitly mark a component or any other declaration as exported. Okay? You need to add it to the exports array. inside of the submodule. So then, only then, your module could see it. Okay? Right? So you need to export. Whatever is not in the exports array is not visible. Okay? And this is by design. So we won't have these collisions that we had that we have still in Angular 1, right? When we have right? Okay. So we have these collisions, and we need to namespace them and stuff like that. So let's look at the submodule, at the login module. So in the submodule, we need to add this exports property and just add the same login component we added to the declarations. Okay? So it's the same one. Now, will it render? The sad group up front, yes. Okay, so, yeah, it will render. Yeah, give them a round of applause. Okay, no need. Okay, so now it will render, yay, and imagine that I live coded it. Okay, so we added into the exports array. You need to remember that this is the old guy saying to Bonnie, you need to remember to just add here declarations. Only declarations. And other modules as well, okay? But you can re-export modules, but that's for another talk. But remember, only declaration, not services. So Bonnie asked him, why only declarations? And the old guy looked at him and went, yeah. So after Bonnie recovered, he said, now I can answer. Okay. And he started explaining how things work with services behind the scenes in Angular 2. So we talked about the components and the compiler and stuff like that. But we also mentioned that we have an injector. And in Angular 2, what they did from the last change with ngModules, they made this big providers pool for the whole application. One pool, one app injector, one thing to rule them all, okay? So that's what they did. So they added like a big provider pool. So every, are we taking over by SWAT team? What's this sound? Okay, never mind, forget about it. Everybody down! Okay, okay? We covered? Okay. So again, we have this app module and the big providers pool for the whole application. So when you declare submodules, no matter which module it is, when you declare services in its providers array, they are being added to the providers pool when you import this module. Okay, this is a tricky one. It took me like time to understand that point, okay? So again, no matter which submodule it is, okay, when you declare services on it, they go into the big providers pool, meaning any other module could inject these services. But that's okay. In Angular 2, it's not by string, it's by the file itself. So we don't have the same collisions we had in Angular 1. And it happens automatically. So Bonnie said, thanks, and went away. And yeah, time went by, and then he came back and asked the old guy, help! And the old guy said, what is it? And Bonnie said, my app loads slowly. Loads, okay. So the old guy said, you need lazy loading. And Bonnie asked, what's that? So, and that's another feature we get with ngModules. So he started to explain, okay, we have our, again, weird choice by Bonnie. It's not like I ever written that in my spare time. We have our Llama dating website and with its front page. And let's say that this front page takes like 5 seconds to load, which is bad for mobile. But we can identify that, wait a minute, you remember this login page, the other feature, right, which we extracted into its own module? we can lazy load this module, and then we'll reduce our loading time from 5 seconds to less. Okay, so how does it work? So we have 2 modules. Let's say we import them into the app module, and we decide to keep the front page as is, and to make the login module lazy loaded. So we do a nice PowerPoint transition, and it becomes lazy loaded. And now, when we load our app and we open up the developer tools, we see that it got shortened from 5 imaginary seconds to this 400 imaginary milliseconds. Okay, we just reduced our app. How does it work? Well, I planned for a 30-minute talk, so I didn't write the code for that. Okay, but basically, it's also a topic for a different talk, how to, like the AOT compiler and how to lazy load a model. So I don't have the code here, but this is reduces. This is the point I want you to remember, okay? That you can use the tool of ngModules to reduce the initial loading time of your application. So Bonnie said, thanks, old guy. And the old guy said, wait, there's more. And Bonnie said, yeah, no thanks, I know where that's going. And the old guy went, but you really need to see this. And Bonnie looked at the old guy and said, thanks a lot. But seriously, are there other things I need to know about ngModules? And that's where we arrived to the part that we didn't have time to cover in this talk. I'm gonna create some videos about it also, and maybe like also create another talk only on the advanced stuff. So just so you know what you need to cover more. So there are the shared modules idea, which means that when we have components that keep repeating in our submodules, we need to extract them into one shared module. This is the idea of shared modules. It's pretty simple, but I will mention something you need to pay attention to. We have another idea, or best practice, which called core module. And that's where we keep our services that we want to expose to our whole app. Like I said, everything goes into the provider's pool. So this is directly into the provider's pool. And our core components, like the header, the footer, the stuff that we have in our shell application. I know it's kind of abstract now, okay? I don't have slides to explain them, but this is the 2 things we can read about them in the ngModules documentation. And just pay attention to one thing that never declare services, okay? And this is the main point I want you to remember when you start experimenting with big applications. Never declare services on lazy, loaded, and shared modules. It's supposed to be modules. And that's a whole nother talk just to explain why. But basically, what it creates another injector, and then you have 2 instances of your services. I won't go into that. Just remember this rule, okay? There's a trick on how you can do it, which called for root. But again, I don't have code, so it's just talking abstractly. So these patterns, the shared modules and core module, are suggestions the Angular team added to the documentation team, more precisely, added to the documentation, the ngModule documentation. So just know that they are based on big applications, in past languages, but we, as the Angular community or developers, need to take these patterns and test them for ourselves, and maybe figure out if they could be better, okay? Don't treat it as dogma, and if you do find something better other than these patterns, please contribute back to the documentation. Okay, if you want to know more, like I said, I have more courses in December in this website, and I will cover this in more depth, all the stuff I didn't have time now to talk about. Okay, so let's summarize what we've learned today. we must have at least one root model, which is our app module. This is how we begin any Angular application. We need to subdivide our features into submodules when the app gets bigger, and we import only exported declarations because the services are added to the app injector, which is the provider's pool, which is the main place when all of the services place together. So this is the summary of the talk. This is all the main points, and now I hope you can find this ngModule stuff easier to grasp. Thank you very much.